Welcome, welcome. We're excited for today's Facebook Live.
Yeah, we were inspired by the response for our group blueprint. So how about we just make a video for it?
Yeah, we've been helping private practice owners launch and scale group practice owners for a number of years now. Specifically, we have refined sort of this blueprint for building a great group practice that is profitable, that helps you build the lifestyle and the process you want. So one, we want to share what this blueprint looks like. And two, we just want to invite you deeper into this process. One, on a belief level of saying we see group practice owners build sort of the practice of their dreams, a business that serves them, and a business that they sort of own instead of a business that owns them all the time. It's something we're really passionate about and we see happen really successfully with the practices that we work with. And we just want to say that you can do it too. It's not always the easiest, but it can be easier when you're doing it with others and you're following the correct roadmap, right? When you have the trail up the mountain, it's a lot easier than trying to figure it out when you're kind of in the dark, all alone with nothing going for you. So that's kind of what today's blueprint is about.
Yeah. So I'm actually going to share my screen and just show you our blueprint here.
Let's go.
So I do want to make, because that Facebook post that I made was pretty, we'll call it like salacious, right? I want to make a disclaimer here, guys. This, I mean, business is like one of the hardest things that most people ever do in their entire lives, period. So this takes hard work, and this is not for everyone. And I wanted to present this as like most businesses fail in their first several years of just being in business. And if you look at like startups, so I equate cash practices to being startups. 70% of those fail in their second year, and we see this all the time. But so many of you are treating your business like it's a startup, or worse, like you're just a random freelancer. Okay, and so this blueprint is specifically made for the one crazy person who's watching this video, who's just crazy enough to just sit down, do this, and make it work. Okay. So inside of our program, we talk about her a lot because she's an excellent coach of ours as well. But Shelby, she did it in under 9 months. And so we just want to show you that blueprint. Okay. So the first couple items here, Josh, before I move on, did you have anything you wanted to add to this disclaimer?
No, I think that's a pretty relevant disclaimer. It's not without work and it's not fraught with a little bit of danger along the way, but it just kind of goes back to that statement of we see practice owners successfully doing this every single day. And when they put in the grueling effort of building one little new thing at a time, which is kind of what this blueprint is all about, it adds up to being a big, phenomenal seven-figure group practice.
Yeah. So the first elements here are going to be your like just general practice setup. So set yourself up for success. I put MVP here. This means minimum viable products. Okay. So go with the minimum level of engagement. For a lot of you, if you're okay with running a telehealth practice, like just do that. You don't have to go crazy, get a location and put in a lot of cash or get like some weird uh, funding or anything like that. That's not what you have to do here. You're running a service business. You don't have a lot of costs. Keep it nice, lean, and mean. And then we want to make a good decision on our business model. So, how are we going to conduct our business? And I kind of break this down into two paths. You can take the franchise path. So, franchise, think like Subway or Chick-fil-A or McDonald's, right? These are like proven things that people want and go out and seek those items, right? And so franchises are like insurance practices, and startups are cash practices. Startups, the way I equate startups to being cash practices is you don't know if people want to purchase your services as cash. And so honestly, there's a lot of tweaking and resolutions that you have to find. Sometimes you get lucky and you nail it and you fill up a cash caseload. Great work. But most startups fail. Most startups don't ever get off the ground the way that they want to because they don't have the endurance, actions, feedback loops in place, etc., to make it work. And so in this model, we recommend taking the franchise path, especially if it's your first time business.
And to
Beyond
talk about
that,
that for 2 seconds
yeah, go ahead.
is, um, it's in some ways the path of least resistance, where nationally, more people on a product buying level want to buy insurance therapy services. Now, there are a lot of pros and cons that we talk about to this, all the time, but essentially, when you're building your very first business, right, when you're going for your first hike up the mountain, being the insurance-based practice is the path that we have seen work faster and more often. But not to say that we also, the very first practice we ever helped cross that $1 million threshold was a cash pay practice, right? So it's just you can do it both ways, but I just want to affirm that there is a speed component that can sometimes be present with insurance-based practices.
Yep. Then you want to set up your marketing and sales. So you just want to proactively just like top down, and I'll show you what this looks like zoomed out here in just a second, guys. I'm not trying to hold information from you, but you'll look at everything top down and make sure you have all of the preparations taken care of for your sales scripting, for marketing language, for what it is that you're going to do. And then finally, you're just going to put together the last little components. Again, we see our MVP here, minimum viable assets. And assets in this case are going to be like um, possibly your website if that's something you plan on or need to use. This could also be like assets like maybe directories or setting up your panels if you're going the insurance route. So setting up your panel profiles and stuff like that. So again, keep it simple. Before I move on, anything you want to touch on, Josh?
That's great.
And so, as far as marketing channels go, this is kind of, I don't really have a key for the colors on this, guys. I just use colors to kind of like make different in sort of the pathing here. But there is one thing I want to draw your attention to, and it's these dotted lines. The less spread out dotted lines, the less frequent is like kind of important. And then the dots basically is like very least important. Okay. And so when you're just starting out to run your practice, the things that you're going to want to consider for marketing is going to be those directories and those paid ads. Paid ads because it is speed to cash and speed to a result. And if you're selling insurance services, paid ads can move you quick. And then directories is the cheap, low hanging fruit access to shoppers and in market opportunities. And so directories are going to be what's like sort of fueling the like uh, low tier of individuals, and then paid ads is what's going to push you to the stratosphere. Okay. Um, then there's elements like organic. So this is going to be like SEO or social media or other elements like that. We'll talk about that here maybe shortly, but you really don't need that when you're first starting out. And it's actually a shiny object or a distraction in a lot of cases. Same thing with referral partners. We see time and again, clinicians come in, they're trying to get referral partners. Some clinicians have referral partners, right? Like they have relationships with the university, or they have relationships with a lot of doctors or family friends that are like in touch with individuals who could potentially use their services. In those cases, referral partners is a great way to get started. But if we want to erase luck and connections from the equation, that's the last thing we want to focus on right now. Okay. I think before we move on.
I just want to say that when you Google or you're in any place where you're trying to say, hey, marketing for private practice, the answers are all the same. It's just the execution of doing them and doing them enough to get good at them. And I just want to emphasize that point. Ads, listing sites, SEO, social media, networking, and referral providers, like that's kind of the big list. That's the big stuff. Do one at a time, build it, and figure it out. We have lots of content, obviously, on the nuts and bolts of each one of those buckets as well. But I just kind of want to affirm that there's not a silver bullet here, but there is a blueprint for construction to put in the work.
Yeah, that's a great reminder. You got to keep polishing the stone as it goes. So after that, we want to direct everyone to some type of list collection element. Okay. You've probably heard somewhere you should be tracking your referrals, tracking your leads. Well, we want to do that. So you should have some kind of system to be able to do that. We provide and create and run our clinicians through a client relationship manager that we love working with. But all to say is you can even use like an Excel spreadsheet in a lot of these cases. And so just keep track of your people, because here's the thing, you're spending a lot of time and energy and money and other things to get and interact with people who could potentially work with you. And so you may as well have them available so that you can recycle them and keep them really inside of your ecosystem for the long run. And so have some kind of recycling system. Otherwise, you're going to be paying full price and waiting forever for all of your people. Okay. So have some way to recycle and continue those individuals, move them on to connection and qualification, and have a sales call if that is what's going on. If you are not able to connect and qualify, put them into a no connect, a lead warming, or a lead nurturing bucket, whether that's inside of your CRM or in some other kind of system that you're maybe working with, to keep an ecosystem alive for the individuals who've interacted with you.
And I just want to say that there's actually a pretty big misnomer in the market. Unless you are working with very like high risk, time based clients, we're talking like suicide or really heavy emotionally distraught types of clients, which I know many practices are more like long term, just client care, and the anxiety, the trauma, the depression, people, who those individuals, you can't assume that just because they fell off or they aren't a good fit right this second for whatever reason, aren't going to come back a month, 6 months, or a year from now. People actually don't find the providers and solve their problems. One of the biggest things is they don't take action in their own lives
Yeah.
as much as we think they do, because sometimes of the issues that they're experiencing. So that's actually where there's a lot of value and almost like ethical responsibility that can come in by trying to continue to reserve value to potential clients, to be a good provider for them, because there's a good chance a lot of people on your list haven't gotten their problem solved. They haven't gotten the therapy they actually need to change their lives.
Yeah. Um, thank you so much. That's such a good point, guys, here. Because I think so many of us miss this entire component, and this is where so much like long-term consistency is built.
Yeah.
So many are so eager to just run people through this first segment here. And so elements in this bucket include things like social media or emails. This could even just be like your blog or whatever, your newsletter, that kind of stuff. Okay. As far as the sales calls go, work them through that process. You guys know how to do sales calls, or maybe you don't. Reach out if you need help. And then you'll close that individual. Essentially, there's two offers. Always focus on your one primary offer first. As you can see, this one is dotted out. There is an opportunity to do downsell offers like groups or a side coaching thing, or like sending people to go purchase like a little thing on the side there. But that is not our primary focus. That should only be added later. Our primary focus is our primary offer, which is getting people in for their therapy services. Okay. So go ahead and do your onboarding for those individuals. And then there's going to be a component here where we're talking about retention, reporting, program improvements, staff training, and general culture. Okay. This is where things start stacking up. This is where things start stacking up. This is where you take a look critically at all of the elements. And then you say, where can I improve it? How can I make this a little bit better every single day until it's really good?
Yeah. And as you're processing this might feel long, but essentially we're calling this a blueprint, right? For the building that you're constructing, the business that you're constructing. Another way to look at this is the ingredient list for your practice, right? And there are versions of a minimum viable ingredient list, right? Like you can fry an egg and it be a single ingredient, right? And then there's lots and lots of other things that you can do to make it a more complex recipe. And I think this right here is a mix of kind of a minimum viable and slightly more complex, and it can certainly be enriched, right? We can have a more complicated blueprint above and beyond this, but like this is truly a great starting point for a business. If you build each one of these segments in the way we're walking you through, your practice will flow out of this and will more than get the momentum rolling.
100%. And so there's a few ways that we build our client lifetime value. There's a few ways that we continue to generate cash. We'll call this like an infinite growth model type situation here, where essentially we end up spitting out clients who are like in maintenance mode. We end up spitting out advocates or referral providers, and we end up spitting out or having additional client reactivations and just in general larger ecosystem, a larger footprint, a larger impact that you have on the community. Okay, and these are all areas that just increase your client value, increase the cash collection, and increase what you can and can't do in your practice. And then, did you have anything else that you want to add here, real quick,
Let's
Josh?
keep going.
It's pretty good. Last but not least, guys, is the recruiting component of it. So, what's really interesting about group practices is really there's just two things you have to do. You have to sell to get new clients, and you have to sell to get new providers, right? And so, as far as recruiting goes, there's going to be two really important things to recruit for, and that's going to be your therapists and your administrative or intake coordinators. And then the like maybe optional version where it's like, I'm ready to scale out. I'm ready to not take any more hours in my practice. That's where you might consider bringing in the office manager. And then finally, depending on your business model or how much total cash you're collecting, it may be beneficial to, instead of using a third-party provider to do this, bring this in-house and have an insurance and billing coordination person. And so really, guys, that's it. This is a actually not seven figure. This is probably a $2 million business. Let me fit this. This is a $2 million annual business. This affords you a six-figure salary very easily. This affords you a system and a repetition process that allows you to refine and create an incredible practice for your clinicians, for your clients, and for your community. This allows you to take whatever caseload you want. And really, this allows you to choose the hours that you want to work. And so, like I said, Shelby did this in under about 9 months, and she's like looking for some work to do, right? she's looking for more work. So I'd say she's probably working less than 15 hours a week. And I think really, depending on how you structure things, depending on how involved you want to be, depending on how not involved you want to be, that kind of changes a couple of the knobs. But guys, this is it. This is it. This
Yeah.
is everything you need to create. This is everything you really need to think about. And then, of course, there's going to be maybe some small little side tangent things here. But if you're staying focused, if you're staying in tune with what's actually required, and the way that I would kind of look at this is like top down, what's actually required. Like start from the top. Don't start at the red boxes. Start at the top blue boxes. Get those to work first. You're probably going to eventually have the stone so polished that you will be undeniable, right? It's that Kobe effect. You'll be undeniable. And so I hope you enjoyed this blueprint. Maybe we'll go ahead and tag everyone here. And I don't know if you have any closing remarks then.
I think final closing remarks is looking at a blueprint for how to build a building can look really simple and really straightforward. And that's the whole point of this, is to make it simple and straightforward and sort of have the schematic of what are we building, in what order, what is this viable product that will produce us a seven-figure plus practice. And that's what this accomplishes. But there are nuances of skill and execution, right? If we think about a building, like there's skill labor needed to put in a window, to hire and manage your contractors, to organize whatever it is. And under each one of these buckets will require some skill. And that's your responsibility as a practice owner to either know, acquire, and build the thing, or to create the team that will know and build the thing, right? You can't do this alone. And at each stage that you grow, there needs to be more people helping you with this. And I'm just going to list out the 3 people that you need help from. You need coaches, people that have done it and go before you. That's where a program like Therapy Flow comes in really extensively, is to go much deeper on all of this. You need peers to build alongside with, people who are doing the things with you, right? And who are building with you and you can be collaborative with. And then lastly is you need team members that you can delegate to and build alongside of your admin, your clinicians, your recruiters, whatever it is. And if you focus on being around those three categories of people and building those three categories of people, you will see the results that you want.
Guys, best of luck.